What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Wednesday's edition of Murph's Boston Sports Talk. I am your host, James Murphy, aka Murph, and I just want to say what a beautiful day it was outside before the stormy Thursday that we're supposed to be getting. I don't know, it's supposed to rain Thursday and Friday, I believe. I'm checking the weather right now. So yeah, Thursday and Friday, supposed to rain, a little bit of thunderstorm maybe. You might see some lightning in the distance. So if you got kids or pets that are very sensitive to that, just a heads up, be careful out there. But yesterday was beautiful. It was a great day to be outside today. Hopefully you were able to enjoy said weather. Unfortunately, I got some sad stuff to talk about today. But before I do, hopefully you've had a great week so far. We are halfway through. And to be at Wednesday, Friday is looming. The weekend is just a arm's length away. Hopefully this podcast and this show can help you through it. Also, don't forget to check out the YouTube channel for awesome content that I try to post very, very frequently. Not only is the podcast, Murph's Boston Sports Talk, always uploaded there every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but vlogs, history of old New England sport teams, the Wheel of Dynasty, the MLB 21 series that I'm doing on there. It's just a really good plethora of content over there on the YouTube channel. Go check it out, Murph's and Boston Sports Talk. Subscribe if you haven't considered yet. Definitely like the videos and comment down below. Whatever video you're watching, I definitely want to hear some feedback from you. If you certainly have that to give, I would love to hear it. But enough of the plugging of the YouTube channel and all my wonderful media outlets. We do have some serious business to discuss. Quite frankly, I don't really know where to start. I could go with the Celtics. I could go with the Bruins. I don't really know. I didn't plan on talking about the Red Sox today, but they are not doing all too well down in Houston, let's just say. They've lost 2 games down there. They're officially 2 games out of first place. The Rays keep winning. They're beating the Yankees, pushing them down. So thank goodness for the Rays and the Yankee series. How timely it is. Red Sox going to be in the Bronx this coming weekend. So maybe salvage 1 game in Houston and then prepare for the Yankees in the Bronx. Like I mentioned, 2 more games, in Houston. Losing the first one 11-2 and the second one 5-1. Game 3 today, 8-10, and Game 4 of that series tomorrow at 2:10. Then you're off to the Bronx. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, weekend series down there. It's going to be nutty. It's going to be wild. It's going to be the first series between the Red Sox and Yankees all year, so I'm definitely looking forward to it, regardless of where the teams stand in the standings. But damn, let's talk about those Rays. Holy smokes, they're 8-2 in their last 10. They are 20-8 on the road and only 15-13 at home. Wow, they're a good team. They really surprised a lot of people. A lot of people really had them taking a huge step back after reaching the World Series last year against the Dodgers. I was kind of on the fence. I really thought they were going to take a step back, but not too big of a step back. But, after a small, slow start at the beginning of the season, they really ramping it up. They're looking really good, like the team that we saw last year. Blue Jays, they're muddling in the middle. They're not really doing too much, but it's hard when you have the Yankees, Red Sox, and Rays all playing fairly well ahead of you. And as I put chapstick on, man, it's a long season. You can't get caught up in, a week or 2 or just a series. You got to really look big picture. And I know that I mentioned that this series or these 2 series between the Astros and the Yankees are going to be huge, pivotal series, especially early in the season. Losing the first 2 in Houston is not a good look because, like I said, the Rays are looking really good, and I feel like that they could, balloon their lead in the division to 5 games relatively quickly, whether it's over the Red Sox or the Yankees. And I know it's only at 2 games right now, but next thing you know, you look at a week, it's 4 games, and then the next week it's 7 games. So you got to really try to keep pace with the Tampa Bay Rays and also try to keep the Yankees as far back as possible. So if you're not going to do good against the Astros, at least bring your A game over the weekend in the Bronx against the Yankees. It's going to be a tremendous series. It's going to be something to really keep your eye on. Maybe that Red Sox-Yankees rivalry can have a little spark to it. It's been kind of dormant since 2018 when Joe Kelly, really kind of lit the fire between the rivalry. So we're just going to have to wait and see. Hopefully, let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Hopefully, the Red Sox can salvage a split between the Astros, winning hopefully today and tomorrow, but I'm not going to hold my breath. Although the Astros haven't played as well as we thought they were going to early in the season, but as of late, they've definitely caught up. They're only half a game back behind the Oakland Athletics in the American League West, where they are 30-24. Astros 19-12 at home and 11-12 on the road. They're 4 and 6 of their last 10 games. I'm getting my words all mixed up here. So I mean, they're they were a struggling team going into this series, but they're performing fairly well. Man, like I said, it's a long season. It's hard to not catch yourself up in just like 1 or 2 series or 1 or 2 weeks because of how long the season is. It would just be nice if the Red Sox can play consistent, good baseball, not just all year round, but against good teams. Like, I don't expect you to win every series, but I mean, you split against. Actually, no, you took 2 of 3 against the Phillies. You took 2 of 3 against the Blue Jays. You took 2 of 3 against the Angels, and then most recently you split between the Braves and you took the 2 games against the Marlins. So it's just overall, I can't complain. No, I can't complain overall, but when it matters against the Astros, the Yankees, you're going to be playing the Astros again next week. Then you get the Blue Jays again, and then you get the Braves again. It's like, okay. And then at the end of the month, you got the Tampa Bay Rays, which is going to be a massive series. And then after that, you got the New York Yankees coming into town. So it's like, we got some good baseball ahead of us. So strap yourself in for the month of June, because there's going to be a lot of good baseball. And by the end of June, come July 1st, the standings could look a lot different, either for the good or for the worse, depending on what side of the coin you're on. So that's going to be my quick, brief Red Sox minute here before I really dive into the heart and soul of today's episode, where I will break down both the Boston Celtics and the Boston Bruins. First, I guess the let's go Celtics first, because I have a lot more to say about the Celtics with their season now officially over at the hands of the Brooklyn Nets, where the Nets beat the Boston Celtics 123-109 in Game 5 of their best-of-7 series, where Game 5 was held in Brooklyn, New York, with the Nets winning that series 4-1. Tatum, after a strugglish first 2 games, he really balled out the next 3 games. I mean, 32 points in 41 minutes. You can ask more, I guess, but I mean, seriously, this guy is just a one-man show, and if it wasn't for Tatum, it would have been a 3-game sweep where the 4th game was just formality. Honestly, without that 50 points in Game 3, you lose. And without 40 points in Game 2 or whatever it was, I'm sorry, not Game 2, Game 4, you lose a lot worse. I mean, you still lost, but you lose by a lot more. All right, so anyways, continuing. Fournier, 18 points in 36 minutes. Thompson, 9 and 9 in 30 minutes. Smart, 14 points in 39 minutes. Romeo Langford, 17 points in 38 minutes. All right. Did anyone see that coming? Sure as hell not me. And then Jabari Parker, 13 points in 14 minutes as well. Overall, Celtics have a lot of work to do this offseason. They really do. I mean, you cannot rely on Jaylen Brown, who's injured this, for a while, but, generally speaking, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum as your 2 guys. I mean, yes, they're your 2 superstars. They're your 2 alpha dogs. But the surrounding core is just abysmal. Grant Williams, Aaron Nesmith. I mean, Romeo Langford was kind of a dud to start. Granted, he was injured, but now that he's healthy, he's balling. Peyton Pritchard up and down. Tremont Waters, Carson Edwards, Taco Falls. Semi Ojeleye. I could do this all day. You have to go out and make moves. You have to go out and make some moves. Now, this just broke today. And if you've been living under a rock, it's okay, because like I said, this news came out today that Boston Celtics president Danny Ainge, GM, retires. He's stepping down from, being president of basketball operations for the Boston Celtics, where coach Brad Stevens will step up and take over. So ESPN broke this news, and an article came out at, 10:30 or so in the morning. Is there an author of this article? Because I'd like to give credit where credit is due. Tim Bontemps. ESPN Tim Bontemps is credited with this report. And let me read this to you word for word. The Boston Celtics announced Wednesday that Danny Ainge is retiring and coach Brad Stevens is being promoted to president of basketball operations. The Celtics will start a search for a head coach to replace Stevens and said Ainge will work with the team on the transition through the offseason. Quote, "It was my decision," Ainge said at a news conference Wednesday. Quote, "I don't know if there was a moment in time, but like I said earlier, I trust my instincts, and my instincts told me a couple months ago that it was time for me to move on, and that's what's best for us. That's what's best for the Celtics." Ainge, 62, said he started thinking about the move when he had a mild heart attack in 2019. He said that the last couple of years have been tough because of the pandemic, also the bubble, all the COVID protocols. It can be tough. I mean, he's 62 years old. He's not a young blood anymore. He had a mild heart attack, and that's some scary stuff. So we can't undermine that. Ainge would go on to say, quote, "In the bubble and all the rules and scrutiny and protocols that we had to go through has not made the job as much fun," quote, he said. The move comes a day after Boston's disappointing season came to an end in a loss to the Brooklyn Nets in Game 5 of the first-round playoff series in Brooklyn. Stevens, 44, who has been coached for the past 8 seasons, has been described as worn down with coaching since the bubble and welcomed the chance to make the transition to the front office, sources told ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski. Quote from Stevens, quote, "I'm passionate about this group of people. I'm passionate about the team we have. I'm passionate about the work in our front office. I'm passionate about our coaching staff, and that's who I've spent all morning with," Stevens said. Quote, "I don't think I have a good insight into our team as Danny now steps away." Oh, I do think I have a good insight into our team as Danny steps away, end quote. Ainge would go on to say, quote, "I'm excited for Brad. He was born for this." Owner Wick Grossbeck, who hired Stevens in 2013, told reporters that he and Stevens agreed, quote, "to win banner 18 or die trying," end quote. So before I continue with the rest of the article, I just want to pause right there. We have a lot to really kind of debrief and go into. I first want to kind of mention that hopefully that Danny Ainge's mild heart attack wasn't the reason why, and it seems like that it wasn't, because as much as I've been very harsh and critical of Danny Ainge, not just this year but the past couple seasons, it would suck to go out like that. Heart attack, strokes, whether anything medical. You hate to see someone get injured or have to step away for medical reason. And when you look at LaMarcus Aldridge this year for the Brooklyn Nets, had an irregular heartbeat, instantly retired. I mean, that just blows. And as much as a competitor that I am, and as much as I love winning, not just in Boston sports, just even when I play, you absolutely hate to see somebody get injured. I hate to see somebody get injured because, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about good, fair sportsmanship and competition. And if one team is not 100%, then, sorry, I just dropped my chapstick. Then, I mean, I don't want to say what's the point, but then you didn't have the opposing teams all, right? Let's say in, AFC title game, right? When the Patriots and the Chiefs were in the game before the Patriots advanced to Super Bowl 53. Let's say Patrick Mahomes was injured for that game and the Patriots win in a blowout, 42-3. Whatever. Let's just go example. Are you really beating the Chiefs at that point? You're not beating them at their fullest potential because their best player is injured. And I know I'm kind of going on a tangent here or just kind of sidetracked, but I'm trying to just make my point. So you would hate to see someone have to step away in Danny Ainge for a health condition. So hopefully he is, happy, healthy, with his decision. Do I think it's the best decision for the Celtics to move past him? Yes. I think this is ultimately the best move for the Boston Celtics because they need to look forward. In the past few years, Danny Ainge has not got the job done. His last big move besides drafting was to bring in Kyrie Irving, and that really wasn't the best result, right? I mean, he's brought in minor moves. He brought in Jabari Parker via free agency. He brought in Evan Fournier via trade. There's been small moves, right? There's been small moves. And, of course, you can't forget that he brought in Isaiah Thomas all those years ago. But that's all those years ago. We need a fresh new mind, a fresh new start, because the Celtics do have an important offseason coming up, which I will talk about in a little bit. But having Brad Stevens go from the coaching position to Danny Ainge's front office president of basketball operations position is something I did not see. Now, recently, I was very critical of Brad Stevens and his coaching job because I, went into the fact that he was the guy for the job when the Celtics were rebuilding. Now that the Celtics were done rebuilding and were competitive, it was kind of time for someone new. I made the comparison to Doc Rivers before he left. I made the comparison to Mark Jackson when he was the coach of the Warriors before they went on their tear in basketball. So to see him get promoted, I'm proud of the guy. I think he deserves it, but it's just something that I did not expect. It is very shocking, but I'm looking forward to it. It's a guy, an in-house guy who knows the team, who's going to be on a, from a different point of view, going to be working with the team from a different end of things. And I think it could work. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of moves Stevens makes as a general manager, or I don't know if he's got that title yet, but at least the president of basketball operations. So, I mean, that's kind of one of the same. I'm going to be really interested to see how that plays out. I really am. So let's continue with the article. He said, quote, "The idea of Brad taking over became, it's a natural promotion from somebody we've worked with for 8 years," end quote. And that's, I believe, owner Wick Grossbeck. Ainge was the architect of Boston's last title team, the 2008 squad featuring Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and Ray Allen, and was the third longest tenured active lead executive of any NBA franchise, trailing only longtime nemesis Pat Riley with Miami Heat from 95 and Greg Popovich with the San Antonio Spurs from 1996. Quote, "Helping guide this organization has been the thrill of a lifetime, and having worked side by side with him since he's been here. I know we couldn't be in better hands with Brad guiding the team going forward," end quote, Ainge said in an earlier statement. The Celtics are headed into what is a pivotal offseason for the franchise after Boston finished 7th in the Eastern Conference on the heels of making it to the conference finals 3 of the past 4 seasons. After years of having surplus draft picks and the opportunity to make moves in free agency, the Celtics find themselves without either this offseason. And that is something that I have completely, gone on rants about, is the fact that you had 1 million draft picks, you had all this cap space at one point, you had players to move, and you really didn't do anything besides just draft those players. Kemba Walker, the team's highest paid player, has 2 years and $73 million remaining on his deal, and he is coming off a season that saw him miss 29 games, plus Boston's final 2 playoff games, with knee issues. Marcus Smart, the team's emotional leader, is entering the final year of his contract and is extension eligible. And Evan Fournier, whom Boston acquired at the trade deadline after using a significant portion of the trade exception created when Gordon Hayward departed in free agency last offseason, will be an unrestricted free agent. The Celtics have moves to make. They do. And before recording this, I sat down in my studio at my desk. I brought out everything. Articles, research findings, players, projections moving forward, what players have done in the past. I have made phone calls. I have, sent emails, text messages, talking around the league. I'm just kidding, guys. I just sat at my desk on the NBA trade machine in hopes to come up with some moves to be excited for, at least that I can control, obviously not including signing free agents, which is a whole nother animal. I have come up with 2 potential trades for the Boston Celtics to indulge in, right? One is a 3-team trade, and then the other is just a, 2-team trade, your traditional 2-team trade. It seems like you don't see all those too often anymore. So let's go over the 3-team trade first, because I feel like this is a massive move, but also a groundbreaking move as well, because it kind of rips apart the team a little bit, but nothing too crazy. Both moves, considering it, kind of rips it apart, but this is really the first big move that tears things apart. Another thing that I kind of want to just mention before I go into the trade is just, this is my opinion. This is just me goofing around on the trade machine. Obviously, there's so many variables in an NBA trade, especially an NBA trade. And as I get closer to the mic, you may not agree with my trade or my trade targets or players that I want to trade, and that's okay. And that's why I want you to reach out to me on social media or comment down below, because I want to have this conversation. I want to have this discussion, because when the Patriots first entered the offseason, that was all we were talking about, is key free agent targets, who we're going to draft, potential draft day trades, etc., etc. And now that the Celtics have officially reached their offseason, it's time to have this conversation, because we all know that finishing 7th and getting bounced in the first round is not acceptable. And I think that these moves could really help turn, next season around to where they can be competitive in not only the East, but just be competitive throughout the NBA, because clearly from what we saw this year, that wasn't the case. So first trade, 3-team trade between the Boston Celtics, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the Oklahoma City Thunder. And in this trade, you might want to get some pen and paper for this, because this is a chunky trade. I mean, both trades are chunky. So let me know when you're ready. Pen and paper, right? Or you can type it. I don't care. Okay, so here we go. Carson Edwards, a 2023 first-round top 5 protected pick, and Evan Fournier in a sign-and-trade to the Cavaliers. Then you send Kemba Walker to the Oklahoma City Thunder. And in return, you will get Colin Sexton and a 2024 second-round pick. In addition, the Cavaliers will be sending Larry Nance Jr. to the Thunder, where the Thunder will give them a first-round pick. So kind of a hard, I don't want to say a hard reset, but a slight reset nonetheless for the Cavaliers. There's rumors that the Cavaliers might move on from Colin Sexton, and I really think that the Celtics could take advantage of that, because he is young, he's relatively affordable, and he's not a score first guy. He can be, don't get me wrong, he absolutely can be, but he would be a great option, a great 3 option for you for the Celtics. I really do. You move on from Evan Fournier. You will obviously either let him go for free or you try to sign and trade. You move on from Carson Edwards, because he's doing absolutely nothing for you. And then you unload Kemba Walker's contract, full contract, to the Thunder, who can absorb it. And just to make it worthwhile for both the Cavaliers and the Thunder, the Thunder will get Larry Nance Jr., so hopefully that can give them a little bit of a boost as they start to become competitive again. And I think with Kemba, Larry Nance, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, obviously Al Horford, still out there, but probably not for much longer, you could see that move kind of happen as they kind of bring in a couple of veteran pieces to really kind of make somewhat of a push forward. I mean, it's not going to really cost them that much. It's going to cost them a first-round pick and a second-round pick for the Thunder, and they have a plethora of draft picks. So why not? Why not? That's from their perspective. And like I said, Colin Sexton kind of on the edge of being, moved by the Cavaliers anyways. You get Evan Fournier, a nice little scorer. You get Carson Edwards, who can, be a shooter but also play some defense. Plus, you get 2 first-round picks, one of them from the Celtics being a top 5 protected pick, just because Colin Sexton's on a 1-year deal, and that sign-and-trade for Evan Fournier is a 4-year deal. Just something right there that I really can see happening. Obviously, there may be some other pieces that need to be involved from either the Celtics, Cavs, or the Thunder, but I think this is a good trade for them, as it really kind of mixes things up, or at least starts to mix things up in the Celtics offseason roster pot, whatever you want to call it. So let me just recap really quickly. The Celtics will acquire Colin Sexton from the Cavaliers in a 2024 second-round pick from the Oklahoma City Thunder for Carson Edwards and Evan Fournier from a sign-and-trade. Plus, they will be giving up a 2023 first-round pick, which is top 5 protected. The Cavaliers will also be acquiring a 2023 first-round pick from the Oklahoma City Thunder, as the Thunder will be acquiring Larry Nance Jr. from the Cavaliers and Kemba Walker, from the Boston Celtics. I really think it's a win-win across the board. I don't know if, maybe that 2023 first-round pick from the Thunder needs to be bumped up to maybe a 2022. I can't see why that wouldn't work. I mean, like I said, the Thunder have a plethora of draft picks, and just for argument's sake, I'll just go in right now and just kind of fiddle with that picks, because they have a ton of them. You could even do a first round pick if you really freaking wanted to. Does it really matter? Probably not. So let's just throw it in there. What did I press? Okay, 2022, just to make things just a little bit more spicier for all parties involved. The trade still works, and I think that might be a little bit better for the Cavaliers, so they can have their first round pick this year. They'll have 2 next year, and then they'll have 2 the year after that. So that is my first trade, 3-team trade between the Celtics, Cavs, and the Thunder. And now the second trade is between the Celtics, and the Minnesota Timberwolves. So I'm sure you can kind of see where I'm going with that. And I think my dog is hungry, and I can hear him coming up the stairs, and you might be able to hear him jingle on the mic. So quick timeout while I go feed him. And just like that, Bogey is fed. We are back. And like I said, Celtics, Timberwolves, you can kind of see where this trade is going. And it could happen. It's been, kind of rumored for some time now. And I really feel like if the chips are pushed into the table, this is something that really we could see happen. That's Karl Anthony Towns to the Boston Celtics. So just really quick, before I get into the trade, envision Colin Sexton, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Karl Anthony Towns. That's spicy. That is really spicy. They're all young. They're all good. Towns, Tatum, Brown, all under contract. Colin Sexton might be a 1-year rental potentially, but I mean, then you just gotta build some pieces, bring in veteran pieces, because like I said, you're trading Carson Edwards, you're trading Kemba Walker, and then listen to what you're giving up here. I'm going to start with the draft picks first, just because I think if I start with the players, you'll be like, no, not happening. If you were the Timberwolves, you wouldn't agree to that. So let me start off with the draft picks. 2021 first round pick, unprotected. Just straight up unprotected. I have no idea what it is for the Celtics, obviously with the playoffs still going, but it's going to be just outside the lottery. 2022 swap. I mean, you can't give up Jesus, Bogey. You can't give up back-to-back picks, so it has to be unprotected swap. You're already moving your 2023 in a previous trade, so could we see a 2024 unprotected, swap? Sure. A 2025 unprotected pick, so you're giving up 2 unprotected picks and then 1 swap that is favorable for the Timberwolves, so you're giving up 3 potential first-round picks, a 2023 second-round pick, then Grant Williams and Semi Ojeleye. I don't think that gets it done. Mathematically, it is a successful trade, but that's Bogey scratching his neck, whatever, and his collar jingling. So yes, I don't see this trade happening, but it's a start. Do you have to give up more draft picks? Let's have that conversation. Do you have to give up another player? A lot of people are saying you'd have to give up Jaylen Brown for that to happen. I don't see it. Do you have to move on from Marcus Smart? Well, let's just throw him in there. Let's see. Where is Marcus Smart? Marcus Smart. Where are you? Oh, you're way up here. Trade to Timberwolves. Does that do it? Hold on. Try trade. That's a success. So we could see Marcus Smart, who's in the last year of his contract that we just went over. All that's on the table. And I really don't want to give up Marcus Smart. I really don't. But I mean, if you have to, I think you should do it. I really think you should do it. I've been a big proponent of Marcus Smart. I love Marcus Smart. I think he's the heart and soul of your team defensively. He's an emotional leader. He is oh man, it's hard because he has so many good moments for you, and he has so many bad moments as well. I mean, if not Marcus Smart, who else would they want? Aaron Nesmith, maybe? Peyton Pritchard? I mean, I was thinking to myself, it would have to be one of these three players, Langford, Nesmith, and Peyton Pritchard. I mean, they seem like they're okay. The Timberwolves seem like they're okay at guard. They got D'Angelo Russell, Ricky Rubio as the backup, Malik Beasley as a shooting guard, Anthony Edwards as a shooting guard, Jarrett Culver as a shooting guard. So they got options there. So could an Aaron Nesmith be on the move? I mean, I definitely wouldn't mind that over a Marcus Smart. Let's throw that in the old trade machine. Where is it? Try trade. I mean, that still works. I mean, if we got to do that, let's do that. If we got to throw in more draft picks, sure. Let's do that. But like I said, this is just a starting point. This is where a conversation is developed. Is at the NBA trade machine is where all good conversations are born. At least in basketball. When the Celtics are ousted in the first round, their GM retires, their head coach gets promoted, and we have an offseason that is so crucial and critical to your team for the following season. I think something like this could happen. I really do. At least, okay, the Celtics, Cavs, Thunder trade, that 3-team trade is super realistic. I really think that a couple minor pieces may need to be adjusted, and that's a done deal. I really do. I can't see why none of those 3 teams would say no. I really don't. You get a young point guard, sure, second round pick, but I mean, Danny's no longer there, so you can't hoard all those draft picks. But you get a young point guard who's still trying to prove himself, relatively cheap, who's not who's a scorer. Don't get me wrong, but he's not going to be egotistic, having to be number one. You give up Carson Edwards, a first round pick, and Kemba Walker. So you move a couple other pieces there. You free up that Kemba Walker contract. You maybe give up a little bit more than you wanted to for a Colin Sexton type player, but that's okay because, the Thunder with Walker and Nance get a couple veteran pieces because they can afford them, and they really try to go, win some games because they were in the playoffs just last year, and you could call it the Chris Paul effect, which is a true real thing. But just looking at it, they have an outside shot to make some noise. I really think so. And let me just NBA standings. Let's just take. I know that the Thunder sucked. I'm not going to try to sit here and argue like, oh, the Thunder are good. I mean, they finished 14th, 22-50. I know they're not good. They're not going to be good overnight. But it's just a conversation to have. I mean, they have a gazillion and one draft picks, which they could use those in accordance to taking on these players. Maybe make some moves, make some other moves. Bring in Kemba, bring in Larry Nance, trade some other picks, bring in somebody else, flip Larry Nance for someone else. I don't care. And then you also sign and trade Evan Fournier, which at least you get something for him, unlike you got nothing for Gordon Hayward last year. So that's that trade. And then the Timberwolves trade, just not, Karl Anthony Towns, D'Angelo Russell, just not working out. I mean, they're good young stars, but they're really not doing anything. Moving Karl Anthony Towns while he has, a relatively large contract on hand could really kind of help alleviate the Timberwolves, their cap situation, bring in a bunch of young assets. Aaron Nesmith just got drafted in the first round just last year, who can still kind of, I would say, do something in this league. I don't think he's a bust yet. Semi Ojeleye, who can shoot, play some defense. Grant Williams, who can be a stretch four, play some defense. And then those draft picks, which really would help them with that reset, free up a lot of cap, like I said, over there for them. And like I said, that Celtics Timberwolves trade would probably have a lot of tinkering to do. But what I love to do on this show is generate a conversation, generate a discussion, and have a debate. And I think that what I did on this trade machine does that, which is realistic, possible. I would say a lot of people, a lot of Celtics fans would hope something like this was to happen, and I can't see why not. So reach out to me on social media at Murphs_BostonST, where the ST stands for Sports Talk. Let me know if you think that my trade machine, whatever I came up with the trade machine, is what you want to see, what you think could happen. Maybe you don't like it. Let me know. And also, comment down below on YouTube. Let me know what you think about it. Am I just, shooting shit out of my ass? Am I, logical for coming up with something like this? Is this something that you want? Something that you don't want? What tweaks or changes would you do if you were the Celtics GM? So definitely reach out to me. I want to hear what you have to say. Definitely also comment or reach out to me about the whole Danny Ainge and Brad Stevens situation, as we literally just got eliminated yesterday. Celtics got eliminated yesterday, and they're already making moves. So hopefully there's more moves to come, especially in terms of their roster, because they need to do such a thing. Oh, also trading a bunch of these young players, Ojeleye, Williams, Nesmith, Edwards, opens up your team to bring in veterans. That's what you need, especially if you're going to have Sexton, Town, Brown, Tatum, Smart. You need a guy like a Tristan Thompson. You also need players that are older, too, who have been through the trenches. I will forever say that, good young teams need a Richard Jefferson, a Vince Carter type of player who have seen a lot in the league, experienced a lot, been a part of a lot of things, both good and bad. Someone that's not going to demand shots, minutes, whatever, who can really teach the young guys. They just need, the Celtics need to go out and find a Richard Jefferson, a Vince Carter, a Udonis Haslem, even for the Miami Heat. Someone like that who can help tutor, mentor, give advice, give guidance to the young Celtics team, because this move will definitely make them, I don't want to say younger, because you're bringing in Sexton, who's young, you're bringing in Towns, who's young, but you're also moving on from Kemba Walker, who has some experience, I guess you can call, this year and last year playoff experience, but he's like 31, 32 now. So, yeah, let me know what you think about that. If I am just going on this rant, Bogey, relax. If I'm going on this rant for no reason, or if I'm actually making some noise and speaking to you, my supporters, my listeners, my downloaders, fans, whatever, Celtics Nation, that's who I'm trying to address right now. So reach out to me about that. All right, enough of the Celtics. Season's over. We're going to talk more about them later on as, the playoffs go, their offseason gets underway. We'll be talking more about the Celtics. Don't worry. I mean, they're not going to go away forever. There's a lot of moves, a lot of questions to be answered. But let's kind of get off of the Celtics here. Let's transition over to the Boston Bruins, because there is a big conversation to be had with them. And as we know, as we don't love, the Boston Bruins did lose. Bogey, make up your mind. Upstairs or downstairs, bro? Boston Bruins did lose 4-3 in overtime. Unfortunately, it was a game. It was a weird game. Bruins, hot start. Charlie Coyle netted a goal within minutes. I think it was like 3 minutes, and he gets a goal. And it's like, okay, here we go. We're going to get the ground running. We're going to really get cooking here. But, 1-0 after the one, and then the Islanders score 3 unanswered goals. Holy deflation. Unbelievably deflating. Oh, I don't even know where to begin. Like, one goal, fine. It happens. Going down, giving up another goal, losing, breaking the tie, losing, right? What I'm trying to say. That's deflating, and that's doable, though. I mean, one goal in hockey is a doable deficit. But then you give up that third goddamn goal. It's like, what the fuck are we doing? And the Bruins looked terrible. They looked god-freaking awful in that second period. I've watched a lot of Bruins hockey this year, and that might have been their worst freaking period all year long. Absolutely all year long. Then in the third period, you see the Bruins just, really ramp it up, hitting, offense, physicality, emotion. It was fantastic. They were down those 2 goals. They net one with I think it was 11 minutes or so. They score another one, I think with 7 minutes to go. I forget the exact numbers, but I'm just giving you a rough idea. And it's woo, let's go, right? I mean, I was going crazy with Kim. Kim and I were both watching the game, and I was going crazy. I did have a couple twisted tees, I won't lie, but I was going crazy, yo. So we saw goals by Charlie Coyle, like I mentioned, which was that first one. Patrice Bergeron got the second goal, and then Brad Marchand tied it up in the third period with a goal himself. Man, the Bruins had so much going on for them. Lost the momentum just a little bit towards the end of the third, but it was really good game overall, especially through 3. I mean, it was just up and down, up and down. I mean, without that second period, giving up 1 goal or 2 goals, whatever, in that second period, but just if you tried and put in effort that period, you win this game. You win this game. And then you go up and give the goal in overtime. Obviously, whenever a goal is scored, you always want to look at the goalie. That was not Tuukka Rask's fault. There was even rumors of him coming out to start the third period because of a potential back injury. Now, back injuries for goalies, I don't think are common or uncommon. Let me say, because we've seen plenty of goalies get back injuries before. Tuukka, is a victim of this himself. And Bruce Cassidy, Bruins coach, obviously acknowledged that goalie, Tuukka Rask, is playing through a nagging injury. Quote, not unique to just Tuukka for that position. Right now, I don't believe there's any reason to believe he won't be ready to go for Thursday, being Game 3. There was the possibility that Tuukka Rask did not come out for the third period against the Islanders in Game 2, where we may have saw Jeremy Swayman have to take the pipes. I don't know. Is this, the beginning of the end for Tuukka Rask? Is this where he starts to decline? Obviously, regardless of how the playoffs go, you're going to have this conversation that, is Tuukka worth bringing back? Is he worth bringing back for a year, 2 years, an extension, whatever? You got Swayman. Yaroslav Halak's also up, but he's not nearly expensive, so you could bring Halak back to be that veteran backup who can, spot start and, be relied on for a period of time. Not too long, as we saw, last year's bubble. But still, I mean, is he actually going to be ready to go for Game 3? And if he is, what percentage? Because goalie is the second most important position in sports. Behind quarterback, you guys know that quarterback is the most important position in sports, at least in my opinion, and I really think that's true. Goalie has to be number 2. Has to be. A team will only go as far as their goaltender takes them. That's just a fact. That is just a fact. And if Tuukka Rask isn't 100%, I don't know if I want him back there. I mean, I guess I'll take 90% because of all the experience that he has, and he is a very good goalie. He really is. It's just, I really don't want to turn to Jeremy Swayman just yet because of the lack of experience that he has. Just not just, in playoffs, which he has none of, but just in general. I don't think he's ready for that yet. That's why I'd like to see, hopefully the Bruins can kind of win Game 3 handedly, so you can throw in Swayman for even 6 minutes. I don't care how long it is, 10 minutes. And, if things go sideways, then you bring in Rask back. I mean, that's just, you got to get the guy playoff experience one way or another without having to throw him into the fire. Because last year we saw Dan Vladar get thrown into the fire, and it did not work out well. He gave against, what was it, the Tampa Bay Lightning? I believe he gave up 6 goals, whatever the hell it was. I don't even remember what the number was, and I don't even want to remember how that game played out. So this is something that needs to be talked about. This is something that needs to be, it has to be concerning if you're a Bruins fan. You really have to, look at Tuukka Rask as, I'm not going to say he's the problem because they did not lose them that game. He has not, the 2 games that they lost this year in the playoffs, he has not been the reason why. I don't think many of the goals were necessarily his fault. The Islanders, besides that one breakaway, their first 3 goals in the second period either hit off a skate or just kind of went through, the 5-hole where Rask couldn't find it, or, reflected and deflected, whether it was off him, another player, whatever. Rask has made incredible saves all playoff long, and without him, I don't know if, that Capital series would have been 1 in 5 games, you may be down 0-2 right now to the Islanders if it's not for Rask. I'm not going to say he's perfect. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that. But Rask is definitely a major reason why you have won 5 of 7 games thus far in the playoffs. So talking about another injury, I hate to abruptly kind of switch gears here, but Craig Smith was also out due to a lower body injury. And it's so weird how in hockey it's lower, upper body, or head, right? It's one of those three. You rarely get to the pinpoint of said injury. But yes, Craig Smith did not play because of a lower injury. I hear that it's a calf injury, I believe. So it's not knee. People thought, around the Bruins thought it was knee injury at first, and thank goodness it's not. Hopefully he can come back, and it seems like, things are pointing in the right direction for Craig Smith to come back for Thursday's Game 3, especially with the extra day off between Games 2 and 3. He needs to be out there. Just plain and simple, needs to be out there. That second line is completely different without him. Imagine if the Bruins did not trade for Taylor Hall. A, you wouldn't be where you are now. And B, this team would be a one-line team. And that is just, Bergeron, Marchand, Pastrnak. But with Taylor Hall, with Craig Smith, siding David Krejci, you're a two-line team. And sometimes, that third line may look good. And I think Coyle and Jake DeBrusk are a good fit for each other, as much as Jake DeBrusk has been getting a lot of heat, and he deserves it for his lack of play so far in the playoffs. He did have those 2 goals in games, or 1 and 2 against the Capitals. But other than that, he's been a stiff out there. He's really contributed almost 0, I would say. And Game 2 in this series was more of the same. Just didn't look right out there. I really think the Bruins should strongly consider moving on from him come the end of the season, whenever that is, for their off season to begin. I don't like him on the second line with David Krejci and Taylor Hall. I'd rather see Carson Kuhlman, who did get the spot start, in place of Craig Smith, who was on the third line. But I'd rather see him on the second line. He's a good young speedster, and I think he would really help benefit Taylor Hall and David Krejci on that second line. I don't want to see 2 lines adjusted, so obviously moving Jake DeBrusk up to the second, you have to adjust the third, putting in Coleman there. If you just keep things the way they are and put Coleman at the second line on the right wing, then you're only fixing one line, and that's just because of an injury. I hopefully hope that Craig Smith is back, because without him, that second line and just your offense in general just takes a huge punch in the mouth. But I definitely want to see more Carson Kuhlman. I wouldn't be opposed. I would not be opposed to Carson Kuhlman starting over Jake DeBrusk. I think you should just, kind of bench him for a game, because he really hasn't given you all too much this series and towards the end of the first series against the Capitals. Carson Kuhlman gives you a little bit of juice, a little bit of energy. He's super fast. He's, very quick to the puck and can, win those 50-50 pucks, or, kind of, kill off some icing calls, right? He's that kind of player, and I think he would serve very well alongside a Taylor Hall and David Krejci. But obviously, he would go on the third line if Craig Smith comes back, and putting Carson Kuhlman with Charlie Coyle and Nick Ritchie, I wouldn't mind that at all. I think it just gives you just a little bit of juice. And another substitution that I wouldn't mind seeing, or actually I think should happen, is Jeremy Lauzon. Jeremy Lauzon has been pretty bad so far this series. Obviously, he was involved in, I think, 2 of the goals last night. One of them being around the one that kind of squeezed through Tuukka Rask, where he kind of went to go to the post and it just trickled between his legs. I think Lauzon went to go hit it out, but just kind of whiffed on it, whatever. And then, obviously, in overtime, Lauzon goes to pass, gets broken up, hits a skate. I forget whose skate it hits, but Lauzon went to go pass. It hits someone's skate. It might have been Carlos, and it just shoots the other way. And that's when the Islanders were able to get the breakaway to score in overtime. Super heartbreaking and crushing. But besides that, bad pass. I just think Lauzon is just not there yet. He's a good young defenseman, but I think someone like a Jared Tenorti would be best suited for at least 1 or 2 games to kind of give you some physicality, because The New York Islanders stepped up. They stepped up their physicality for game 2. And like I've been mentioning all playoff long, the Bruins are not a physical, rough and rowdy, go hit them into the boards and punch their teeth out team. They can play like that and live up to that when they face it, but that's not their ideal play style, and the Islanders are more so like that than the Bruins are, and we saw that from the Islanders last night. Bruins, man, that was just taking a deep breath just to kind of refocus myself, because it was just such a heartbreaking loss. You know, they were down 3-1, and if you lose 3-1, you got beat. Okay, you weren't the better team that night. You deserve to lose. But they go out and tie the game in the third period. The energy and the juice, the electricity is just flowing through everyone at the Garden, through myself, through Kim, and everyone watching the game that's a Bruins fan. And then to lose on a breakaway off a pass that hits a skate, I'd rather just lose in regulation, honestly. Save yourself the legs, save yourself the hits. Oh, man, that was so bad. So bad. But what about Varlamov for the Islanders? Getting the start, game 2, nails. Gave up that one goal early. Kind of thought he was gonna, be open gate all night, but he really hammered down after that goal. You went, the whole second period, most of the first, and then half of the third period without scoring on him. Dude was a brick wall. He was an absolute brick wall. He made fantastic saves when he needed to. He faced 42 shots, saving 39 of them. I would not be surprised if the Islanders stick with him for at least game 3. Obviously, I'm sure the coach wouldn't mind going back. I mean, he pulled the plug on, what's his name? Sorokin. Ilya Sorokin. The coach pulled the plug on Sorokin after game 1, putting in Varlamov for game 2. So the coach has no fear. Big juicy sack to put in whoever he wants in between the pipes. And Varlamov was a Bruins killer all season long. He really was. I mean, I think he gave up a handful of goals all season long. And this is one of the reasons why I did not want to face the Islanders, because, they're a tough, gritty defensive team with good goaltending. I mean, you look at the Pittsburgh Penguins, who may have more star power or better talent, but they're super leaky. Their goaltending situation blows. And your Bruins team can battle and play with, in terms of firepower, to the Penguins. And your firepower is far superior than the New York Islanders, but the Islanders have so much grit, so much physicality, passion, heart, and their goaltending's tough. That's why you need multiple lines to be able to generate offense, because 2 nights ago, it was Marchand, Bergeron in the third, and then that one cheeky breakaway from Coyle. Other than that, it's tough. It's tough. So hopefully Bruce Cassidy and the Bruins make the proper adjustments, whether it's substitutions, game plans, approach, whatever it may be. Hopefully he makes the proper adjustments, because game 3 might be the biggest game of the season for the Bruins right now as we turn the series over into New York. If you lose this one, you go down 2-1. I mean, maybe not the biggest game, because, I just look back at that Capital series. You lost game 1, and if you lose game 2, you're down 2-0. I mean, right now, the Islanders series is a best of 5, so you can technically afford to lose another one and still be okay. But, I mean, with these next 2 games in New York, you really don't want to. And just for the sake of momentum and optimism and confidence within your locker room, game 3 is massive. It is absolutely massive, and I'm looking forward to it 1,000%. 3 keys. I got to give my 3 keys for the Bruins here in approaching game 3, which will be tomorrow. When does the puck drop? The puck drops 7:30 tomorrow in New York. What am I looking forward to as the Bruins play on the road in New York for the first time this series? Number 1, consistent offense. I don't care how it comes. It doesn't have to come directly from goal scoring, but your offense, in terms of consistency, needs to be on at least 3 of your 4 lines. I kind of let the 4th line slide because they're the more physical line that I'm going to go hit them and beat the crap out of them kind of line. But if they're the ones that's going to score goals, hey, I don't care who does it. But just give me some consistent offense from another line other than the perfection line, because you need multiple lines to generate offense and score if you're going to want to beat not just the Islanders in Game 3, but just beat them in the series, period. Number 2, goaltending. I really feel like this hasn't been a key for the Bruins lately because Tuukka Rask has been playing so well. I mean, I know I've mentioned it here and there, but if Tuukka Rask does truly have a nagging injury and that's something could hinder his play, you might have to look to Swayman. You might have to look to Halak. I don't even know where you're going to look, but you need to figure that out. Because, like I said, goaltending is the second most important position in all of sports. And Tuukka Rask is one of the best goaltenders when he's on. And he's probably one of the worst goaltenders when he's off. And if that injury causes him to be off, well, you can just kiss the series goodbye. So one way or another, the goaltending situation needs to be figured out, whether that's giving Tuukka Rask some painkillers and him just posting a shutout, or making the switch to Jeremy Swayman at any sign of Rask not being able to perform close to 100%. That's my second key to the game. And then number 3, play your style or force the Islanders to play your style. Or just not their style. How about that? Force the Islanders to not play their style of hockey while you play your style. Because we saw in Game 1 that the Bruins were the more physical team, and I don't think the Islanders expected it. Come Game 2, the Islanders expected it. Bruins maybe might want to go back to their style of play where it's offensive oriented, like offensive play calling, set up schemes and all that, passing, really draining the defense, long shifts for the opposing team, good shots, absolute heavy amount of shots. I think that's the style that they should go to. And if they have to in the game, you make the in-game adjustment to become a physical aggressor in game. See how the Islanders come out. They might be flat-footed. They might be juicing with confidence. But whatever it is, whatever the Islanders come out to play, push them off of their style and really force your style upon the game so the game flows in your favor. Those are my 3 keys. But that's going to do it for today's episode. Before I go, please reach out to me on social media. Give me a follow, whatever. Reach out to me at Murphs_BostonST, where the ST stands for Sports Talk. I want to hear your opinion on either the Red Sox, the Celtics, or the Bruins as we approach the weekend's almost here. But obviously, with the Red Sox having a big couple series and some games coming up, Celtics exiting the 2021 season, heading in. I'm like speaking so slow. Holy smokes. As they exit the 2020-2021 season, as they approach the off season, what should we look forward to? What moves should we see? What moves should we not see? Let me know about that. And then the Bruins, big Game 3. What do you want to see from them? What do you hope or what do you not want to see from either the Bruins or the Islanders in this game? Big Game 3 tomorrow, 7:30 puck drop in New York, as the Bruins will go there for the first time this playoff series. That's going to do it for me. Please download, listen, and enjoy. Oh, and also on YouTube. Like the video if you enjoyed today's episode. Comment down below your thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, whatever. And also subscribe to the channel if you're new or haven't considered yet subscribing, as I would greatly appreciate all of it. But yes, folks, thank you so much for joining me for Wednesday's edition of Murph's Boston Sports Talk. But between now and Friday's episode, you know that I love you. But best of all, I will see ya.